Hi, Alan Stratton from Woodturning. Many of you have seen Celtic knots included in a wood turning project. A lot of them are in pens, not so many in larger woodwork. Generally speaking, they have 2 or 4 loops because that's easy to index on square stock. But have you ever seen one with 5 loops in it? I gave an interactive remote demonstration to a club recently, and we brainstormed other possibilities of it, and one of those brainstorms was to have a double triple. Or is this a double trouble? Anyway, this is a fun Celtic knot because it is based on a 3 loop, 1, 2, 3 of the large loops going through it, and also 1, 2, 3 loops on the inside. So this is double trouble. But it's still easy to do with a couple of templates that are now a little bit scrumby. A table saw sled on which we can actually mount the wood and saw it, and this has some scrap wood with hot melt glue on it, and of course a lot of hot melt glue to fasten it down. So for now, let's go ahead and turn this double triple Celtic knot. To get started, I rough turned a piece of walnut to about 3 inches in diameter. That is the capacity of my table saw. I now have a sliding crosscut table for the table saw, whose principal feature is the thinnest possible base. Templates on the walnut will guide the Celtic knot. To maintain position between cuts, I have hot glued scrap to the sliding table. No science to the angle. It looks good to me. Another piece of scrap hot glued to the walnut will preserve wood alignment. With that done, I can use epoxy to glue in a thin slice of maple into the saw curve. I used 30-minute epoxy because 5-minute is way too fast for me to get the epoxy mixed and spread completely on both the tight inside of the saw curve and the maple slice. With that epoxy hard, it is back to the saw for slice number 2. Actually, my template is a hexagon with 6 points. At this angle, I am sawing every other mark. At this point, I have completed the 3 marks, every other one on my hexagon template. After this, I've removed the scrap pieces from the sliding saw and adjust to another angle, which will put the slices inside the first set of 3. I like this one too. Now the same process for the next 3 slices. I can now remove the templates from the ends and clean up the remaining hot melt glue. At this point, my project looks pretty messy. Finally, I can go back to the lathe to do some turning. I just hope the prep work will be worth the effort. It doesn't take long to clean off the excess epoxy and hot melt glue. I'm finding that a shear cut with my bowl gouge works best with the alternating side grain and maple slices. In preparation for the next stage, I also cut mounting tenons on both ends of the walnut. For a vase, this is a rather deep hollowing task in hard wood. I am not looking forward to that. That is a scary proposition after all the work to create this Celtic knot blank. I confront my fears, but decide to manage the fears by adapting my process. After all, I had cut a tenon on both ends. Why not use both of them? To start with, I am drilling with a 1-inch Forstner bit as deep as it can go, which is not enough. Then I use a 3/8-inch handheld drill to get much deeper. The hollow from the drill will make it easier to continue with a box scraper. Then switch to a large box scraper. For the deepest portion, it is difficult to use the large box scraper. I switch to a smaller box scraper to enlarge the center hole enough for the large box scraper. When almost finished, I check the very end to ensure a consistent taper of 5 degrees that I can match to for a plug. Now I can fit another piece of walnut to the same taper and glue it into the end. I see a small crack in the walnut, so I added a clamp to ensure the plug does not split the walnut body. Then applied CA to the crack. With the glue dry, I check to make sure the tenon is still true after the glue and the small crack. Then flip it around. Now to hollow from the top end. I do the same, starting with a 1-inch Forstner bit. However, I do not need the 3/8 from this end. I got deep enough from the bottom end. Then finish the hollowing with the box scraper. The box scraper did a great job on the hollowing, but just in case some wood turner tries to stick a finger down into the interior, I'm sanding the interior with sandpaper wrapped around a large dowel. But 80 grit will do. Near the opening, I will sand to finer grits while I sand the exterior. After sanding, I recheck the depth before parting off the vase. A spindle mounted to a faceplate on the live center will catch the vase. As I make the parting cut, I cut a concave void on the bottom, but I leave the center nub so that when it breaks off, no grain will tear off inside the surface. Walnut oil should do great to bring out the walnut color and the contrast with the maple. The only hard part is to get finish inside the narrow vase. After squirting in some oil, I carefully manipulate the vase to flood every speck of wood inside the vase. Then the easy part is to apply oil to the exterior. My Celtic knot vase is looking great. It is a crazy knot. This is not your typical 4-loop Celtic knot. This one has a triple outer loop whose top loops are well aligned. It also has an inner loop knot exactly offset to the outer knot. 6 loops in total. Only one small slice that looks about 1/8 inch off or less on one end. I love it. A little bit of jigging makes it work. Please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe on my website, and tell your friends. I appreciate your comments and questions. Every week I make a new wood turning video and add it to my website. Please wear your full face shield for safety anytime the lathe is running. I'll see you next week with another wood turning video. Be wise in these COVID times. Get your shot. It is not politics. And count your blessings.